Welcome to the Enabling Buying Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Kirch, and I'm grateful you're here. Enabling Buying is brought to you by Collavia.com, your all-in-one sales enablement platform. So today we've got a special guest, somebody who's going through a transition, and many of you out there listening are going through your own challenge or your own transition. Maybe you're considering making a shift in your career. These are times that create stress, they create doubt, they create fears, but it also creates amazing opportunities. And if you approach it with the right mindset, like our guest today, he considers himself the accidental rainmaker. And his goal is to be himself. And that's how he sees himself winning. See, Steven Nicokiris is a managing director and shareholder within CBIZ Advisors, LLC, and CBIZ CPAs with over 30 years of experience providing hands-on practical business advisory, consulting, auditing, and accounting services to middle market, privately held, and family-owned companies. It's hard-earned, but he is widely regarded as a trusted advisor within the global middle market business ecosystem. Steven has built a career on collaborative mindset and unwavering commitment to transparency. He's also a lifelong learner and a dedicated listener. Now he approaches every engagement with a focus on understanding the unique needs of his clients, earning him deep-rooted respect of those clients, colleagues, and industry peers. He's also a champion of professional excellence. Now, Steven serves as the advisory board member of the Global Chamber of New York City's chapter and the Metro Professional Group, and is a longstanding member of Vistage worldwide, as well as serving as an industry partner member of the New York Staffing Association. His leadership extends to mentoring future industry talent informally and formally through his firm's Accelerate program. Now, Steven brings a rare blend of technical expertise, authenticity, and compassion to everything that he does. Prior to joining CBIZ in 1988, Steven was an audit manager for PricewaterhouseCoopers in New York City. I want you to join me in welcoming Steven Nicokiris to Enabling Buying Podcast. Steven Nicokiris, welcome to the Enabling Buying Podcast. I'm so grateful you're here. It's good to see you, my friend.
Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I know you're good friends with Charles Bernard, who's the CEO of Collavia, and just a great guy in his own right. He introduced us and said you've got a really interesting story. I know you're working with a fairly large firm, CBIZ. They acquired a firm you were with years ago on the accounting side of things, and you're in an interesting place in your career. For many years, you've been doing auditing, and now you're moving into more of a business development sales role at a senior level. There's a lot of people out there listening to us right now that are probably considering transition or going through their own transition. So I hope this message leads to a little bit of inspiration for them and helps them see what's possible. What's it been like going through this process of transitioning in your career?
It's been really interesting. I mean, I like to call myself the accidental rainmaker, because I've been doing accounting and auditing for almost 40 years, over 40 years, and always really enjoying it, but really loving the people part of it, much more than the technical part of it. I've always been a really solid technical accountant, but I've been, I think, a really more solid, relationship accountant. And over the years, I've been able to actually bring in business, through the relationships that I've been developing. But, having the accounting background really gives me some real insights when I meet with companies and their business owners and looking at their financial statements. The accounting background gives me kind of the entree into understanding their business. And then I could take that other side of my brain, that relationship side, and try to make some sense out of it and bring some value well above and beyond just the number tumbling. And that's really been really fun. And I realized that's actually called kind of business development, but I didn't think of it that way. I just thought of it as just kind of learning about my client and listening and just trying to, understand their business.
Is there a new pressure associated once you put a real label on it, though? Because I mean, obviously, when you're doing it as part of what you just do, relationship building and earning trust, and you're getting business that way, but now you're actually now putting a label on it that it's directly business development. Does it change anything?
Yeah, it does a little bit. I mean, I guess that's my psyche. I think that's maybe the accountant's mentality. An accountant mentality is getting, a solid job, getting a salary, and just working, in more of a business development type of role. The work is really, it's accountable, and you can keep track of the business that you bring in, and that actually impacts your compensation. And it's something that I'm grappling with, to be honest with you. It's creating a little agita in the stomach, and I'm trying to use it positively. But no, it's definitely, it
Yeah.
changes a little bit of the mindset.
It does, and it is very funny though that you were already doing the role. You're already doing the work. CRMs, slide decks, inboxes. Sales teams don't need more scattered tools. They need alignment. Collavia brings your sales playbook, AI coaching, training, and goals together in one platform for consultative B2B teams looking to close more deals with less confusion and greater consistency. Collavia, enabling buying in a world of selling. Visit Collavia.com. And now that you put a label on it, you make it something that it's not. And I think that's something we as humans, we sometimes get bogged down by things that really they're not the things that we should be focusing on. I'm curious though, after 40 years and all this work in the audit space and advisory work, and you're now making this transition. What's going through your mind emotionally? Because I'm sure that there's been some emotional battles around this.
Yeah, emotionally, I guess I'm thinking about, sad. I'm sad that I'm losing, I'm not handling those clients anymore. I just actually went, just literally an hour before we spoke. One of my longtime clients is an iconic restaurant here in town. It's been really hurt by the pandemic. They were in Grand Central, and they didn't have any outdoor seating, and the pandemic just devastated them. And they've recovered quite a bit, but not fully. And they've really been a
Mm-hmm.
whole roller coaster we've been going through together. And I went over there literally at 2:30 just to let them know about my role change, and that I'm going to be really transitioning off the relationship, and I'm going to be available, but I'm not going to be handling, the details of their financial needs. And, they were worried, because I called them and said, I'd like to come over and just tell you about a little change in my situation. They didn't know what to expect. Either I was sick or maybe retiring or didn't know what, but, they were very happy for me. They said, Steve,
Yeah.
I think actually you're great at that. And, we understand, you're not going anywhere. So we're still going to call on you for any issues. And that's still the case. So I'm still going to be involved. And again, I'm going to keep the relationship. I think I'm going to call myself the relationship partner on all these clients, where I'm not going to be doing the technical stuff, but I'm going to be available, for any, big issues, and also hopefully new projects, any new projects that come along. So I'm going to use that hopefully to my advantage, and continue to keep a
Yeah.
relationship with them, because just what I do.
Yeah, and you are such a relationship builder. I mean, you and I had one conversation. I got off the phone going, yeah, this guy, I can't wait to go golfing with him one of these days, you know? And, it's like you are someone who builds connections. So I would guess on the positive side, you're not losing relationships. You're going to be out there building new ones. And
Right,
that's got
right.
to be
Right.
exciting.
That old honeymooner episode. I'm
Yeah.
not losing a friend. I'm gaining a ton. I don't know if you know
What,
that joke,
uh,
but
what else is exciting about transition at this point in your career?
I think I got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I really, I'm really, very excited to, just succeed, and really, knock the sock off the ball, and try to continue to be myself. I think that's really going to be the most
Hmm.
important thing. I think if I just continue to do what I've been doing, good things will happen. Can't control the time frame and all that stuff, but I really, really, I want to, just kind of get myself off on the right foot, try to be effective, not back down, and really be given the tools. Because one of the great things about this firm is the tools, the arsenal is amazing. So I have an arsenal of stuff, in my toolbox that, is really second to none. And I think that's the one thing that's really unique. There aren't a lot of audit guys, who are doing that within our firm. They were selling audit work, necessarily, but I've been out there, generating business in other areas of the firm, insurance, payroll, IT consulting, litigation, forensic accounting. My brethren are not doing that. They just don't think like that, and so it
Yeah.
makes me a little bit of an anomaly. And I think that's why the firm said, Steve, we think your highest and best use is not actually being an auditor. We really need revenue, and we think if you're out there full time, doing this, good things will happen.
Well, and I think anybody listening to this that's either in transition or considering it, they need to take inventory of what they bring to the table, their past experience. And I think sometimes we get so fixated on a role that we forget that we've got all these years of experience doing things that prepared us for us. So for yourself, what was it in the auditing role that you think really prepared you to make this leap?
I really think part of it is just relationship. I've always had this idea of building a relationship with my clients. I think that was kind of foremost. Just listening. I've always been a listener. I really, I like to listen and ask questions. Sometimes my wife yells at me. She goes, if I'm speaking to someone I meet or a waiter, or I'm, one of our friends at dinner, I'm asking all these questions, and she goes, what are you, like interviewing these people? But these are just genuinely interesting
No.
questions that I'm truly curious about. It's not, manufactured. It's not,
Yeah.
bogus. It's just, I'm just curious. So I
I
ask
have
a
two
lot of questions.
teenagers. I embarrass them all the time doing the same thing. It's like, and if I see somebody wearing a name tag, I always call them by their name. And my daughter, when she was younger, she used to say, "Dad, you always make so everyone, when we go out, you always make everyone feel so good." Now that she's a teenager, Dad, you're just embarrassing. We stop talking to those people. So I can
Yeah, my
relate.
daughter has a boyfriend now. She's been dating for a couple of months, and he's a pretty nice young man. I met him a little while ago. He's working in the hospitality industry, and he wants to get into the corporate environment. And we just were having dinner for the first time, and it just was asking him about that, and he was explaining what he does. And next thing I know, I have his resume, and I sent it out to 8 or 10 people, and I'm just trying to, help them, get something going in that field. Just because I want to, it's
Yeah.
interesting, and I really want to help. And he was very surprised. He didn't expect that, but it was fun
I
to do.
I love it. And I worked for a guy years ago, a great leader, and he had this mindset of always be a resource. That's something he really instilled in us. He always said, always be a resource. When you're young, you hear that, you go, okay, yeah, I'm going to take care of my clients. I'm going to serve them well. But no, he meant go further. He meant doing exactly what you just did, helping people that are, on a job search, or helping people that have questions or quandaries. And I have clients that, I don't do business with them anymore because I'm in a different place, but they still call me and ask me questions or look for advice. And it's like it's really amazing when they reach out to me, because it's like I know they see me as a resource in their life, and that puts you in such a different place than just being a rep or a salesperson. It's like,
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and and that's really where I see myself, really being a resource and just giving, really
yeah,
give, and I think that giving mindset, trying to, do things that people don't expect in a good way, totally genuine and honest and open, not ass kissing or anything like that, really just
yeah.
generally want to, help someone and do right, and without really asking for anything in return. I'm really not asking for anything in return, and I enjoy doing that. I really get joy out of it, and I really feel it gives me purpose. It's something, and
It
it's fun.
absolutely, I love it. I know you're an optimistic person. You're somebody who has like just you're a lifelong learner, and you really have this idea, the idea of evolving. When I talked to you, you were excited about it. I love that. But there's one
Yeah,
piece of the equation that I think that a lot of people out there don't understand, especially in sales and business development and roles where you have to really push yourself. You're an athlete by nature. You grew up in playing sports, and you've got an athletic mindset. How much has that helped you in your career?
oh, a ton. I was a good athlete. I played Division III baseball. I played high school basketball in a very competitive high school. Um, I really do think that juggling. I also married my high school sweetheart, and so she was a great student, and she really helped keep me on the straight and narrow. I've always been kind of that student athlete, and I was always a really good athlete, not the best athlete, but I outworked the competition, and I say that
Yeah.
even now. I really, I'm not the best accountant, but nobody is going to outwork me. They are not going to outwork me, and I give my clients, I like to say, give them my shaving time. really, really think about them and try to do right by them. And I think they appreciate that and they know that. So yeah, being that athletic and also very competitive, I want to win. I really, really want to win, and I'm willing to pay. I realize there's an investment. You have to invest your time and energy in order to win. That's what I believe. I really do believe you need to do that. And so I do that, and I expect to win.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm sure that that idea that you outwork the competition, that's carried you through your life, and something tells me you don't like to lose,
No,
right?
it's funny. I remember a couple of years ago, I got a nice opportunity, and as recommendations from clients are the best referrals you could get. There's nothing better than that. It's really yours to lose. So one of my really long-term clients recommended me to a very nice business in this area, in the electronics company, and so I called the owner of the electronics company and introduced myself, and he never didn't know me. And apparently, I was very late to the game. They were very late in the process. They were not happy with their existing accountant, and they were meeting other accountants. And it was clear that I was very late. And we was talking and talking, and it started out very cold. He really didn't seem interested. But we just kind of had about a 15 or 20-minute conversation. Things opened up a little bit. At the end of the conversation, he goes, "Can you give me a couple of referrals? I'd love to speak to some people to get an idea of, what you do." Um, so I did. And he got back to me about 2 or 3 days later. He said, "Steve, we asked the other accounts for referrals. You got back to me quicker than they did. And your referrals all got back to me quicker than they did. You're now ahead of the other people. And the comments I got from your referrals were amazing. I'm hiring you. You are going to be my accountant." And I won that client, as a result. And I think again it was the dedication, the hard work, and really getting back and following up. I mean, those are critical skills in sales and business development,
Yeah.
and it's something that I take pride in. Really, following up with people, and when I say I'm going to do something, do it. Hopefully not to a fault, but in a positive way.
Yeah. So one thing that you mentioned to me when we spoke last, I think you originally met Charles through a Vistage
Yes.
organization, your Vistage meeting. Groups like Vistage are amazing out there. They're helping CEOs and business leaders, be more successful. But there's other organizations out there. Throughout your career, have you gotten involved in other organizations? And are there things that you would tell anybody out there listening? Hey, get involved, do this, do that. Are there things you
Yeah,
look for?
I mean, Vistage has been the longest standing one and really the most investment that I made in any one organization because a lot of people in my world they join networking groups, and
Hmm.
Vistage is not a networking group. There is a networking component to Vistage, but it's really about learning and growing. And while it's really geared to CEOs, and while I'm not the CEO of my firm, they have a subgroup they call Trusted Advisors. Um, and again, it's really about giving. For many years, I was investing some time and energy into Vistage, but I didn't get not one piece of business, not a stitch. And the managing partner in my firm would call me into his office every year. And he said, "Steve, tell me how much business you got out of Vistage." And I'd say, "I got zero, after year
Yeah.
one. Year two, he'd call me and, "Steve, how'd you do? How you doing with Vistage? How much business did you get?" "I got zero." He said, "Okay, that's it. Get rid of it. It's a waste of your time." I said, "No, I don't think it is. I just got to figure it out. Give me some time. I'm going to figure it out." Year three, "Steve, come on in. Tell me about your Vistage. How much business you got for Vistage?" "I got nothing." He goes, "That's it. You're done. Get out of Vistage." "No, I did. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get it done." Now the pandemic hits. All of a sudden, people are dealing remote. That's PPP and employee retention credit. I jumped all over that. Got myself very educated on that. I was all over the Vistage network, speaking to Vistage members all over the country, giving them advice and guidance. And all of a sudden, business came and it came and it came and it came. And that same person who was telling me to get out of Vistage, he tells me now, "Steve, what can we do for Vistage? You tell me. What can we do? You want to do this? You want to do this? You want to host a meeting?" I host about 4 or 5 meetings a month in my office right now, at least.
Nice.
And I just actually hosted two this week, earlier this week. And it's been amazing. But again, it was giving. It was really giving. I'm involved in a couple of other organizations, but I mean, Vistage by far has been the most enjoyable one, the most rewarding one for me, and it's continuing. Meeting guys like Charles, who to me I consider like a brother from another mother. just a really good person, also a giver and very smart, amazing. And it's really
Yeah,
been a great journey and continuing.
he's just a great guy, but that's so true. And years ago, I was working in the marketing research industry, and I worked for the Gallup organization for 10 years. And I always jokingly say they kind of hid us from the world. So in Gallup, you didn't know the market research industry existed outside of the company because we were so focused on the brand. And it was a great company. But then I left Gallup and I started working in other companies. And I remember I started this sales job with this company in San Francisco, and they said, "Oh yeah, we want you to go to this event tonight." And I'm like, "Okay, market research event sounds fun." And they sent me, and I went, and I was like, I met all these people, and I thought, "Oh, this is cool." And I was talking to this woman; she was on the board of directors and of that group, and I said, how does one get on the board?" And she goes, "Oh, it's volunteer. If you're interested,
Um,
I can introduce you to somebody." I'm like, "Oh, this is my first meeting. I don't think that's for me." But I kept going to these events, and eventually I'm like, "Hey, so tell me about, what's it take to get on the board?" And she goes, "Well, I can introduce you to some people, and we recommend you." And she goes, "The best thing to do is start volunteering at these events." And I'm like, "Okay." So I would go to these events, and I'd say, "Do you guys need any volunteers?" "Yeah, we need somebody to hand out, you know, lunch tickets." I'm like,
yes, you told me
"Okay."
about that.
And I'm handing out tickets, meeting all these people. And the next thing you know, okay, we need somebody to check people in and give them their badges. And behind the scenes, I'm meeting all the leaders, and I'm meeting all these people, and I'm building these friendships. Next thing I know, I'm getting asked to be on the board. Next thing I know, I'm getting board positions, and then I'm president of the board. Then I'm getting invited to do all these other things. I would tell anybody in a sales, business development, or leadership role, get out there, get involved, find an organization that is relevant to your industry. It will change your life. And it
Yeah,
may
no,
not
you're right. And,
happen
and again, I
immediately.
apologize. You asked me the question. I didn't answer correctly because there are several organizations I am involved with.
Oh, no, you're good.
One is called the Global Chamber. Again, with Charles. Charles is a member of the Global
Yeah.
Chamber, and he asked me to get involved, and I offered up
I
my
think he
office
leads the
space.
New
And
York chapter, right? Doesn't he lead the
yes,
New York one?
yes.
Yeah.
So now I'm on the board. All of a sudden, after a year and a half, he invited me to join the board. And so I'm on the board of that organization. I'm a member of a networking group called Metro Professionals. I've been a member for 4 or 5 years. All of a sudden, one of the leader of the group asked me, "Steve, you've been really visible and active. I'd love you to be on the board." So I'm on the board of that. So again, along those same lines, when I get involved, I really jump in full feet ahead. I don't want to just be a participant. I want to be
Yeah.
an active participant and really be a leader. And that's really again, that same mentality. I think work harder and just again, all with the right intentions, all just trying to do good, do right, and help other people.
There's an old adage, it's not who you know, or not what you know, it's who you know. And, on the surface, that sounds so, cliche. It sounds so arrogant, but it is really true that, you build a friendship with somebody like Charles or somebody else in the industry, and they can introduce you to people. Next thing you know, you're finding opportunities galore, and you don't always even equate it to the organization. And then
Right.
at some point you take inventory, you go, "Oh, that opens so many opportunities for me." So
Yeah.
yeah,
You were
it's
talking
kind
about
of
good
incredible.
organizations, and I was thinking about when I was young, and I am the ultimate introvert. I am a really unbelievably introverted person. I remember, being 12 or 13 years old, and if I saw, a girl that I thought was pretty, I would literally go on the other side. I'd walk on the other side of the street, because I just was embarrassed. And we used to have in my neighborhood, I grew up in a Jewish community, a lot of bar mitzvahs, going to bar mitzvahs. Everyone would get up and dance. I would never get up and dance. I was embarrassed. I didn't think I knew what the hell I was doing. Just a really, really shy person. And I am still. And I know people say, "No, you're not." Oh man, I fight it. I fight myself every single day. I
Yeah.
love being home alone. I love golf. I mean, that's not I play baseball and basketball. I love that too. But, I really I'm very much an introvert, and it's just, really what I am. But I enjoy people. So it's a kind of an interesting battle I play with myself.
So in a world we live in where things are becoming more and more automated, very transactional, it just seems like people are, leaning into AI, and there's a lot of noise in the marketplace. Let's talk about, you're this relationship guy in this world where it seems to be leaning more away from relationships, sadly. How important do you think is it to lean into relationships, and what are some things that you're excited about? Because I think you are in a unique position compared to a lot of people out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I realize that, AI and technology are certainly got to be, weaved into the discussion in a big way. I'm being involved in things like this. I'm really trying to embrace, being out in the marketplace, going online, using AI. There's luckily, again, the firm has got a major resources that I am educating myself, trying to get, much more involved with social media and, trying to be, proactive when it comes to that. It's really, really important. I still got to believe in my heart of hearts that relationships matter. When the time relationships don't matter, I will not be successful. I just don't think so. I think that's just who I am. It makes me unique,
Mhm.
and that's a differentiator in my mind. But again, I have to embrace using technology and AI is going to be critical, and leveraging that in order to do more of what I'm doing is going to be something that if I don't do it, I'm going to be missing out. So I do plan to take advantage of it as much as I can.
I think relationships will always matter, but I think how doors are opened is where the challenge lies. Because a lot of people are ignoring messages. They don't, they're not as accepting of just an email introduction anymore. There's so much noise out there, and we're starting to like tune things out. I think that's the challenge we need to overcome as relationship builders. I think relationships will always matter, but getting there, I think, is where the work begins.
Right. Again, I'm hoping, is trying to focus in thought leadership pieces, trying to figure out, where the buyers are, really where the buyers are, not where the would-be buyers are, but where the buyers are. And,
Yeah.
trying to, really show, I mean, I have a lot to offer, 40 years of experience, just there aren't people out there that got that. And, the business acumen and the understanding and the empathy, I think is really comes across, when I get in front of somebody. And you're right, you just got to get in front of them. You don't get in front of them, you don't get an opportunity. And that is always the magic grail. And that's to be learned. I mean, I guess that's really something I need to figure out over the next, several months. Really, how do you
Yeah.
get the best opportunities?
Well, and I love the fact you're with a brand like CBIZ that really is supporting this. They're giving you this opportunity. This is not anything except for that, an opportunity. And it's putting your skills to use at a time when the company really needs it. CBIZ is, they're no small player in the space, but revenue is king today. And I think what you're stepping into is going to make a big impact. So it's wonderful.
Yeah,
So
no, thanks. You're right. That's all
look,
we hear
Steve, I,
about:
I thank
revenue,
you
revenue,
so much
revenue.
for being a part of this, being a part of the Enabling Buying podcast. Transition isn't easy, but people out there listening that are going through it, I think they're going to take away some great insights. How can people reach out to you? Because maybe there's some potential clients that are listening going, I need to work with this guy.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love to speak to anybody about anything. The best way to reach me is either through my through CBiz, my email, which is my first initial last name at cbiz.com. It's SNICOKIRIS at CBIZ.com. They could always look me up on LinkedIn. They could always reach out to me, 212-790-5716, or love to speak to anybody. Really love to reach out and just explore opportunities and see if anything I could do to help.
Steven Nicokiris, thanks again for being on the Enabling Buying podcast.